Coming up on this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society, we love Mega Man. We just don't have any episodes about him to announce at this time. South of King's Tomb in Mido is a tunnel, so the Nintendo Cartridge Society is in a tunnel with you. Welcome to Nintendo Cartridge Society. My name is Patrick Ellers, and I am joined, as I am always joined, by my co-host, Mark Mitchell. We've got a good show for you today. We're going to be talking about the news from the week, and then on Thursday, we are recruiting Nintendo musicians to make the best band. But Mark, in the meantime, how's it going?
It's going great. So happy to be back.
It's great to have you back, Mark. I know we do these ABCs, and like we can kind of like meter out the Mark and Patrick experience. We haven't been together in like 2.5 weeks.
I know. It feels like forever. It feels like an unbelievably long amount of time.
I mean, that's almost a month. 2.5 weeks.
I don't like it.
I don't like it either.
I don't care for it.
No, sir.
So happy to be back.
Yes.
This Nintendo making the band that we're going to be doing on Thursday.
Yes.
After Conan O'Brien hosted the Oscars this last year, I've been watching like a bunch of Conan clips and best of compilations and stuff on YouTube, and I was reminded of Dudes Aplenty. Which it was like a boy band that he made back when he was doing the Late Show. So this was probably like 2000, somewhere around.
Yeah, sure.
Has a really, really young Colton Dunn as one of the members of Dudes Aplenty.
He's one of the Dudes Aplenty.
Uh-huh.
Well, I'm going to go seek that out
now,
it's
really funny. It's really funny. Worth checking out.
I like falling into a Conan O'Brien YouTube rabbit hole because he's been on TV for so long that like there's just so much good stuff. Obviously, he did a bunch of bad stuff too, but like, I never run out of like funny Conan clips.
It's also really interesting to hear like when they're doing, at the end he's like, all right, we'll be back after the commercial to talk to so and so.
Right.
You're like, I haven't thought about that person since like 1997.
Right, because he's always got to get like the second string like of guests promoting their stuff.
Yeah.
Mark, if people would like to support us, they can go to patreon.com/Nintendo Cartridge Society, where if they are supporting us at the 8-bit or 16-bit levels, they will get access to our once-a-month episodes of miniseries, like one that's going to come out pretty soon, an episode of NCS at the Movies.
Yes, we're about to kick off NCS at the Movies. Patrick and I are going to be seeing a movie together, and sometimes with special guests, at least once a month. And then we're going to be talking about
We're doing 2 in July.
We're doing 2 in July.
Doing 2 and doing 2 and doing it.
Turning into Elmer Fudd here. Yes, and so that's going to be a lot of fun, and you should check that out. But if you're supporting us at the 8 or 16-bit level, you can also go back and check out our library of other miniseries that we've done, including NCS Arcade, where we played a bunch of games that you and I had never beaten before. So there's a bunch of good stuff on the Patreon. You should follow us there, and you can follow us for free.
Yes, if you follow us for free, there are some little goodies that we put out there from time to time, and I'm sure we will. Again, we've not discussed anything specific, but it'll happen. You should also be in our Discord if you are not already. Email us at Nintendo Cartridge Society at gmail.com, and we will send you an invitation. You can get in the Discord, chat about Nintendo basically all day long. Mark, we've been apart from each other, so we've not been able to have our like in-person talks about Nintendo in a very long time, or so it would seem. Let's get into what we've been playing this week. Okay, you've been traveling, so I want to hear your traveling adventures.
Yeah, sure. So you mean like what I've been playing as I've been traveling?
Yes,
yeah.
I don't want to hear about places you go, or did you have a nice meal, or see people.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, mostly I've just been playing Wind Waker
Yeah.
on the GameCube, like Nintendo Classics on the Switch 2. And
I forget if we talked about this. Did you go ahead and invert the camera controls on the right stick?
No. So right now I'm playing it as it was originally designed.
Yes.
Which I guess is non-inverted camera controls.
It's on the on the x-axis, which was what, because I also went in and like played with it for a little bit through the Forbidden Fortress or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's something I needed to change before I could even get off the initial island.
Oh, Outset Island. Yeah, I have been playing it with just like the normal setup, so I haven't messed with the controls at all. And it's challenging.
Mm-hmm.
It's tough. It makes sense to want to switch it, but I've been trying to kind of like muscle my way through it as the original GameCube experience.
Why not just fix that?
I don't know. I'm stubborn.
Okay.
I really don't know. I have it in my head that I'm like, no, I'm just gonna experience the original. And let me tell you, it's kind of rough. Like, I really just wish I was playing the HD remake of it.
Yes.
I never played the Wii U version because I didn't own a Wii U, but as I go through it, I just constantly wish that I was doing that instead.
Yeah, so this was a take that Jeremy Schmidt, friend of the show and host of Video Games Comedy Show, a take that he was sort of airing for a little bit of like, hey, the original version of Wind Waker maybe kind of sucks. And then I went on his show, first of all, to confront him about misrepresenting my support of him in that stance, because I supported him in that stance. But then we talked about everything. We talked about the thing that is wrong with every Zelda game. And that was very, like, they're all such good games. And even Wind Waker, when you're like, this is rough, there's such a good game under that roughness. Or I guess I don't know if that has been your experience, if you've been able to find like the beauty under the sort of inconveniences of the GameCube version of Wind Waker.
I am really enjoying it, despite the difficulty I am having with the controls. And it's really just a matter of constantly like moving the camera in the wrong direction and then just being like, oh, right, okay, yeah, of course. Like, I'm still having to constantly break that habit. I don't know. It does make me wonder how much I'm going to enjoy the GameCube library as it comes out on Nintendo Switch Online. And maybe Wind Waker is just a rough example of this, but
there are some things that like fundamentally, like on a basic level, and let me know if like you relate to this. But I feel like the Link has like a weird turn radius. Like I can't turn him around on a dime. And if like I've misaligned like a door or a ladder or something, that I've got to like pull him away from the wall and like take another swing.
That drives me crazy. Like in Forsaken Fortress, when you have to climb up the ladders, I would constantly find myself misaligned and then struggling to align myself.
Yes.
Like there were times where I just felt like, I don't know what you want me to do.
Right.
I don't know how you want me to get on this ladder. I feel like I'm in front of the ladder. I'm looking at the ladder. I'm trying to climb the ladder, but you don't agree with these movements for whatever reason.
Right. For whatever I have displeased you, Wind Waker. Yeah.
But it's interesting because maybe I don't remember having these issues when Nintendo re-released Mario Sunshine as part of 3D All-Stars. But I can't remember now if they made those sorts of changes to Sunshine and 3D All-Stars to mitigate it, or if obviously they have different control schemes, right? They work very differently. The camera nub, like the C-stick in Sunshine, like it's, I don't know, I just can't remember. I just can't.
Yeah.
I don't remember having these issues when I replayed Sunshine.
Right. It's so interesting too, because like when you are like controlling the camera in Wind Waker, it's not really like, you do it with the C stick with this analog stick, but it's not really analog, right?
No.
It's like you hit left and it swings left.
Right. It feels like a remnant of like the Mario 64 camera,
100%,
where you're just moving. It's like, oh,
famously the best part of that game.
It's like, oh, you hit a C button. Okay, we're gonna rotate it like 45 degrees or something like that. Yeah. So I am enjoying it, but like I said, I do feel like I'm eating my vegetables a little bit, and it does make me wonder because I'd always considered the Nintendo 64, there are so many games on the Nintendo 64 NSO library that I'm like, this sucks.
Right.
I don't want to play this again.
Right.
And
Jet Force Gemini.
And I thought that the GameCube would be different, that the GameCube would be like modern enough that I wouldn't have that problem going back to those games. And Wind Waker is making me rethink that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to remember what its contemporaries are, right? That like if you're comparing a Zelda game on GameCube, the peer on like other hardware would be like a PlayStation 2 3D platformer. Still pretty like stiff, right? Like it's not really until like the PS3 era where like we can start to get like a little bit more like freedom of motion and like where we figured out the relationship between the right stick and the camera and like all of this stuff really because like if you think about how like the Metal Gear Solid games play and those are games that play really well, they're also like quite antiquated, right? And like haven't really figured out the relationship between the controller and a dude moving around in 3D space.
Well, and also the camera stick on the GameCube controller was never really meant as a second analog stick, right? Mm. It's like a whole other like yellow nub type thing.
Yes.
And so
And have you been playing with that controller?
No, I haven't.
Because you've been
exactly. I was doing it in handheld mode. And so it made a little bit more sense using a GameCube controller back in the day because it's like, oh, this is not like the GameCube controller is not a dual analog controller.
Right.
But now I'm so used to playing dual analog games that it's hard to go back to like the weirdness of that C stick.
Yeah.
Did you ever play Twilight Princess on GameCube? I never did. And now I'm wondering what that experience was like, like how the camera control.
Yeah, no, I never did.
Game. Yeah. I don't know. So yeah, I've mostly been playing Wind Waker. At this point, I don't know how much more.
How far into it are you?
I'm not that far. I'm like pretty much done with Windfall that first time you're at Windfall Island.
Oh, okay.
But I haven't really like gone beyond that.
So you haven't really subjected yourself to like the horrors of sailing yet?
No.
Okay.
No, that's what makes me like, I don't know that I can do. I don't know that I'm strong enough to play Wind Waker on the GameCube.
You may not be. It's the Wii U version of it is so good that it makes it all the harder to go back to the original GameCube version. I think. I started it just sort of out of curiosity and because I realized I owned the Switch 2 for like 3 weeks and hadn't turned on the GameCube and was like, okay, we gotta fix this. But yeah, I don't know what games are going to be compelling enough on the GameCube to bring me back to that library.
Yeah, modern games have made me soft.
Yeah, that's right.
I can't hack it anymore. I guess I don't know. I'm not fully ready to throw in the towel, but I'm pretty close.
So I will also talk a little bit about The Legend of Zelda as I continue to play Breath of the Wild. Mark, this weekend I've been playing and I absolutely it's a great game, of course, whatever. But the thing that I like, the specific dimension of Breath of the Wild that I had forgotten I liked so much is that the game is incredible at encouraging you to chase your own priorities. And when I start making little mental lists in my head of like what my mission now is, like clearing out this area or like collecting certain materials to craft potions that I need to get somewhere or to buy stuff from the ancient lab so I can take on guardians or upgrade my armor or whatever. There are so many different choices I have, and the game is so good at funneling you into different little paths like that, and it just feels so like immersive and emergent, and it's just all of the boring, normal, superfluously wonderful things you can say about Breath of the Wild. I'm experiencing all of them. I am currently 2 Divine Beasts into the game. I have collected the Master Sword, and I have done one of the Trials of the Sword, so I've boosted its power up by 10 damage points, which is great. Very cool to have that as like part of the game from the beginning.
That is cool.
And so I want to do like the other ones and get that like, fully powered up Master Sword.
Remind me, did you beat Trials of the Sword?
I think I did the first 2 before. But yeah, the way Trial of the Sword works is that like all of your inventory is totally stripped down. So I wanna go a little bit deeper into the main game so that I've got more hearts and stamina when I go into it. Because otherwise they're quite difficult. Over the weekend, I started using Zelda Notes, which is the accompanying thing within the Nintendo Switch app on your phone. That first of all, it has the voice memos where if you are in a certain part of Hyrule, Zelda starts narrating stuff to you from like her time traveling across Hyrule, like after, or I guess it's during the Calamity War, whatever, which is in Breath of the Wild alone another 120 plus things to find in the world, but also using the navigation tools in there to like go to an area and be like, okay, there are 3 Koroks around here, and sometimes that's enough, right? To be like, in this area I'm gonna find these 3 Koroks, but sometimes I'm like, yeah, navigate me to this Korok, and then it's like, head northeast a short distance and then go down, and I'm like, okay, great. And I'm just loving it because then it takes stuff away after you've collected it, and you can really sort by, are you looking for Korok seeds? Are you looking for the points of those voice memos? Are you looking for shrines? Are you looking for individual materials? All this kind of stuff. Are you looking for treasure chests? And it's been an incredible companion to Breath of the Wild.
That's really cool. So how does the voice memo thing, or the voice memory, whatever it's called, how does that work? So they show up as icons on the map in game, or just in the app?
So just in the app, or you can just like have the voice. So they will play if you have the app open. There's a thing that you can go into where it like displays all of your voice memos, and it will. I thought that's where it had to be for it to play it when you were in the right place. But if you're on the navigation screen too, it will also just like play them from the phone.
As long as you're in like, is it like an area that triggers it?
Yeah.
And then when you say like you can have it direct you to a Korok seed, is it like Google Maps GPS where it's speaking to you saying go north? Go southeast.
Yeah, it's a voice. It's a voice that speaks to you.
Not a champion, not Zelda. It's just like another voice.
Yeah, it's just like another voice.
Okay, yeah.
Another like disembodied voice. And so, I love obviously finding stuff in Zelda, but there's 900 Koroks. I never got all 120 shrines in Breath of the Wild, and like who knows? Donkey Kong comes out next week, so maybe I'll eat my words. But I feel like I wanna do, maybe not all the Koroks, but like I'm gonna do all the shrines, I think. And I'm just having an absolute blast. I think that the Zelda Notes functionality is like kind of a game changer. It makes me wish that they had a Mario Kart World Notes feature in the app, because like, man, that would be great for the free roam mode. Yeah, I just think it's really quite excellent.
Have you found yourself playing similar to how you played the first time? Like, are you hitting the Divine Beasts in a new order, or the same order, like all that kind of stuff?
So I started with the same Divine Beast that I did the first time, which was heading on over to the fish people, who are
the
called
Zora.
The Zora, thank you. But then I went to the Rito second.
Oh, okay.
And when I played originally, they were my last. So now I'm headed up to the Elden Volcano, and I've got some fireproof armor, and I've just been up to Goron Village. So like that's gonna be my next one, and then I'm gonna finish in the desert with the Gerudo. I'm having a really good time.
That's
with
awesome.
This. And I held out for a while about Zelda Notes, because even though I have my phone with me all the time anyway, and especially when I'm playing a video game, one like Breath of the Wild in particular, where I may want to have a podcast on or something while I'm playing. But I just had that like extra little bit of like I don't want one more thing that I need to engage with while I'm playing. And now that I've broken the seal on that, I'm like, well, I should get all of my amiibo out and like scan the amiibo in and like use them there too. Just to like, let's throw everything we got at this thing. Let's have a great time playing Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, that sounds great. And I'm glad that Zelda Notes is cool.
Yeah, it's very cool. And I really, it makes me hopeful that like they can implement this kind of feature elsewhere. We've talked so much in the last couple of weeks about the interesting, open, undirected nature of the free roam mode in Mario Kart World. And I love that, and I don't want that to go away, even though I find it intensely frustrating. If I had the option to bring it up on my phone and do it there, I feel like that's a perfect solve.
I do think that there's a third-party app, right, that somebody created that...
But does it know what you've done?
No, I don't think so. Or maybe you can like manually do a checklist, maintain a checklist or something.
Well, and
but I'm not sure.
That's kind of the difference, right?
Sure.
Because like there have been those interactive maps of Hyrule that like you can get on like IGN or whatever, that would track that the same way. It's the real-time acknowledgement of what you have done and what you've already collected, and knowing where you are on the map to direct you from there, that I find so compelling.
Yeah, that is really interesting. I wonder technically how they do it. Sounds pretty like complex to be able to do that in real time.
It makes me wonder if I could if like Sarah were at home, we're at your house right now. If Sarah were at home playing Breath of the Wild, could I on my phone like bring up the navigation and see where she is?
Watch her run around.
Yeah, from like the that's map
interesting.
View.
Have you found the voice memories to be interesting?
Yes, actually. I've enjoyed the voice memories quite a bit. It's all like they're interesting little pieces of writing because it's all Zelda like going to these places and talking about like some interesting or strange feature of either the landscape or the people there or whatever, and her interactions with them. And I find that that speed of like sort of inquisitive and like observational is a lot better for the actress who plays Zelda than any sort of like dramatic or emotional heft. That it just like it plays really well, and I feel like the characters performed very well in Zelda Notes in a way that I don't think is true of the game itself. So yeah, I think it's good.
Is there a canonical reason that these voice memories like exist? Like, is it acknowledged in the world? Like, here's a...
I mean, nothing in the game itself acknowledges it. It's possible that there is a voice memo that I have not encountered yet.
Oh, sure. Yeah, that explains the origin of voice memos.
Here's what I'm doing and why I'm doing it.
That is really cool. That makes me want to mess around with it a little bit. You know, when I first got my Switch 2 and I booted up Breath of the Wild, I opened up Zelda Notes, but I was starting a new save file.
Yes.
And so it hadn't tracked like I expected it to be tracking like my history of playing Breath of the Wild. And it maybe did that for a couple of like the stats that you can pull up, but
really the superficial ones.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And then, you know, on the Great Plateau, I don't even think the voice memory things are working in the beginning part.
Yeah.
You know, in like the tutorial section. So anyways, I haven't gone back to it to really check it out at all.
I think it's good.
The other thing that I just wanted to touch on is while I was out, I traveled a little bit in New York City. And so I went to the Nintendo New York store, which is so close to Rockefeller Center.
Okay.
Like, and it's not very big. It's 2 stories, but not super large. And it is like they had demo stations of like Switch 2 that people were checking out. And they had like on the second floor in the center, they had a little glass like display case that was showing off. Maybe it was like last year or something was the 20th anniversary of the location, and so they had some an employee manual from when it opened and all that kind of stuff. It used to be a Pokemon Center, and so the doors to get in and out still have like the handles are like a Pokeball.
Oh, that's cute.
But
yeah, no reason to change that.
yeah, no reason to change that.
Still works.
But you know, in comparison to what is in the stores in Japan and what is my understanding the new San Francisco store that opened, the merchandise is much more generic Nintendo stuff, especially on the bottom floor.
Right.
It's pretty basic, just like Mario and Zelda like things. And then the second floor had a little bit more specific things. Had like a little Metroid section, and it had a little Pikmin section that was actually on the first floor, and it has a little Zelda section and stuff like that. And so it's not that it was cool to go into. It was fun to see a lot of this stuff that they had. But I didn't feel compelled to buy things like in the same way I think
when you were in Japan.
Right, or even going to like the new San Francisco store would be like,
you did get me a Pikmin hat.
I did,
like a little corduroy Pikmin hat. It's very cute. I love it. Did you get anything for yourself?
I did. I just kind of got like a generic it's a Nintendo New York hat.
Cool.
But they also, I was really torn. They also had a Metroid hat, but it was just the what is the like the screw attack symbol?
Oh
like
yeah,
the
little
like S thing.
Yeah,
it was just
that. Is that because that is what the screw attack looks like when you pick it up? It also kind of seems like it's just sort of like the Samus,
right?
Like it's her logo.
Totally.
Yeah.
I would say the most like specific merchandise they had was they had some Splatoon like sweatshirts that were seemingly from like in universe.
Oh, that's cool.
And they weren't just like Splatoon. Like they had like a manatee or something on it that I really liked, and I wanted to buy it, but I was like, I'm never gonna wear this thing. And it's like $60.
That's a great point.
But it looked cool.
It is also hard for us to like wear sweatshirts in.
I mean,
you do it all the time.
Yeah, I'm constantly cold. But yes, I understand what you're saying.
Here in Southern California.
Yeah.
Mark, do we need to like has the scene at the San Francisco store calmed down enough now that you and I should like take a trip up there?
I mean, I think it'd be devastating to our wallets, but it would be fun.
Well, I think that means we have to do it.
Yeah.
All right, Mark, that's what we've been playing this week. Let's get into the new releases and what we might be playing next week.
Okay, so yesterday, Nintendo updated the Nintendo Music app, and this week, we got the Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time 3D soundtrack.
Because the Legend of Zelda The Ocarina of Time Nintendo 64 version was already there. Is this the first time they've done this specific move?
I think so.
Interesting.
I think so. And so I guess it opens up the possibility. I mean, I'm saying I was about to try to use a word that I don't know how to pronounce. So
let's try it. What was the word?
Sanguine?
Sanguine? You're sanguine?
Sanguine.
Right.
Sanguine.
Basically meaning
about it.
Meaning you're like okay with it.
Right. Yeah. I don't really feel like strongly one way or the other. I think this is an intriguing development.
Right.
Because it means, well, could we now get, like the Game Boy Advance soundtrack versions of the Donkey Kong Country series?
Which would only be good for Donkey Kong Country 3, but it would be great for Donkey Kong Country 3.
Yeah, it would be interesting. So, I guess remakes and all of that are fair game now.
Yeah, it's blowing the doors off. I'm excited to give this one a listen. I remember the like new arrangements of all that stuff, while not being like radically different, all being good.
Yeah, I'm guessing that my memory of Ocarina of Time at this point is all the 3D remake. That I probably only have the vaguest memories of what the what the original
actually looks and sounds like and plays like. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then on Thursday, July 10th, System Shock 2, the 25th anniversary remaster, is launching on Switch.
Yeah, interesting, right? Because like this came to all the other platforms like 2 weeks ago ish, right?
I think so, yeah.
And it was supposed to come out on Switch at like the same time, but they
didn't for whatever
needed
reason.
Just a little bit more time.
Yeah,
weird.
I think I'm gonna pick this up. I've never played System Shock 2, and it's supposed to be like an all-time classic in the vein of like BioShock. So I'm looking forward to trying this out.
Cool.
And then on Friday, July 11th, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3+4 is released on Switch and Switch 2, and then Patapon 1+2 Replay is released on Switch. Another one that I've never played Patapon before, and am interested in.
I'm gonna pick up Patapon. I'm very interested too. I mean, like, I like rhythm games. I'm always bummed out by how like modern rhythm games are subject to the lag we have between TVs and HDMI cables and controller inputs and all that kind of stuff. But if you're just playing it all in handheld, like the whole thing is right there, right?
Right.
So I'm very interested and excited to check out Patapon 1+2. Any interest in Tony Hawk? On your end?
I don't think so. I feel like if I was going to pick up one of them, it would have been 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Because those are the ones that I played the most for sure. What about you?
No, I don't really have any.
Because it doesn't have Darth Maul in it.
It doesn't have Darth Maul in it. If it doesn't have Darth Maul in it, I'm not showing up. Mark, last week, I think it was last week, we're talking about the announcement of the new Arc System Works narrative-based game. The Dear Me, I Was, ...
This is a sequel to I Know Who Killed Me, right? The Lindsay Lohan movie?
I think it's probably...
Is that what it was called?
Wait, I Know Who Killed Me?
I think it's called I Know Who Killed Me. And the poster is like an icy blue, and maybe it's like she's trapped under ice or something. Let's see.
Yeah, Lindsay Lohan.
2007.
Julia Ormond.
Yeah. So anyways, yeah, it must be related to that somehow.
Yes, it must be. But obviously it's a very much in the, or possibly in the vein of Another Code Recollection. Is this of interest to you?
Yeah, when that game comes out, I imagine I'll be picking it up for sure.
Yeah, sometime this summer, I think, is when.
Oh, so soon. I didn't realize it was that soon.
Right. Well, it's weird when a date of summer is put on something and it's like, oh man, we're there right now.
Right at any moment.
It is summer.
This could be sprung on us.
No, not spring. Summer. All right, Mark, let's get out of the new releases. Which brings us to a regular segment on our show. It is time for 433. In 1952, American composer John Cage wrote a piece called 433, wherein a performer or group of performers didn't play their instruments for 4 minutes and 33 seconds. For the purposes of this show, our instruments are talking about Nintendo. So for the duration of one performance, 433, Mark and I'll talk about something not at all Nintendo related, thus fulfilling the contract of the piece. We have a suggested topic coming to us today from Steve-O, back from our 866 episode. We've been asked to rank or rate, we'll decide which in the moment here, these pasta sauces.
Interesting.
Would you like to rank or rate them?
I think we should rate them, and in doing so, we will generate a ranking.
Sure. I mean, how big is the scale here?
Let's say 1 through...
Let's just do 1 to 5.
Okay.
Because I feel like anywhere else we're going to get like too granular.
Okay,
so, like,
yeah. 1 to 5.
1 is like no, never. 5 is like yummy, yummy, give it to me. 3 is like, okay, like I got no objections. And then the 2 and 4 are sort of the realm between them.
Great.
Okay, great. So the first one on the ranking here is Alfredo.
I'm going to go, for me personally, I'm pretty low on Alfredo.
Okay, how low?
I don't like a creamy sauce.
And that's all Alfredo is.
Yeah.
Just a creamy sauce.
Yeah. So I'm going to give it a 2, I think.
So when I was younger, I was very high on Alfredo because it's like macaroni and cheese.
Right. I think that this is a familiar story.
Yeah. And like I really like an Alfredo with like broccoli or whatever. Obviously a pasta, but But yes, I would say that as I have grown up, I like it less. I will also go with a 2. All right, next up is the bolognese meat sauce.
So you're a vegetarian.
Yeah, do I give it a 0?
Yeah, do you give it a 0? Well, I think you have to give it a 1. It's a 1 to 5 scale.
Oh, that's interesting. I can't even abstain.
No, you can't.
No, like,
you have
NA?
to. Yes.
Okay,
yeah.
Interesting.
But I'm a meat eater, but I'm not that high on bolognese either. I would probably I guess I would give it a 3. I think I'd give it a 3.
So I will go 1. And partially because I did eat meat for a time in my life. And I got to say, encountering big chunks of meat in a sauce is always like off-putting to me.
Yeah, maybe in my mind, I always think of bolognese as more meat than sauce. You know, I want my sauce to be saucy.
I want my sauce to be saucy. And like, if you put a meatball in there, that's different.
Right.
Because bolognese, that's like a slice of a sausage or something, right?
I couldn't tell you.
Well, the less we talk about this, the better we are. So Mark's going 4.
Is that where I ended? I think I ended up at a 3.
Okay, and I'm gonna give it a 1.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next up is marinara.
All right, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a marinara head.
It's a classic.
It's a 5 for me.
Yeah, especially like a fresh, like if you make a marinara like from sauce.
I've never done that before, but I believe you.
Oh man, it's so good and honestly kind of easy. So yeah, I will also give it a straight up 5.
Vodka sauce.
Here's the thing. I've had some really disappointing vodka sauces, but like a good vodka sauce that can like feel kind of like rich and like I'm gonna give this a 4.
Yeah, I will support you in the 4 only because I don't think I know what a vodka sauce is supposed to taste like.
That's very good. Okay,
it always sounds intriguing. I'm intrigued by a vodka sauce, but could I tell you what a vodka sauce is supposed to be? No, I couldn't.
Very good.
So I support your 4. A pesto.
Now.
A pesto.
A pesto. Can you eat pesto?
Yeah, I can.
Okay.
But I think that I don't know if pine nuts are really nuts, and if they are, it's apparently one that I can eat.
Yeah, pine nuts might be seeds.
Yeah.
I don't know. Here's the thing. I really like a pesto. I feel like there are so many different variations you can do on a pesto too. Like you can put like a little spinach in there as well. Like really like grind it up into a nice it's just got that good like kind of oily umami, a little like sour, but like I like a pesto.
I like a pesto
5.
too.
I'm gonna go 5.
I like that. I like that. Sour cream. Now this is interesting.
This is interesting. Steve-O, this list has been provided by Steve-O. Sour cream?
Yeah.
Think of it as a pasta sauce.
I don't think of it as an anything because I don't care for sour cream
at all.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't need it on a potato.
Right.
I guess I like
That's a good place for it though.
On a potato?
On like a baked potato?
Interesting.
How do you eat a baked potato?
I'm not going to lie to you. I'm a butter, salt, and pepper man. That's all I need.
Butter, salt, and pepper. Man,
yeah, salt of the earth. Simple.
If you go, butter, salt, and pepper of the earth. If you put some sour cream on there and like some like chives or whatever on top,
yeah,
like ooh, that's like exactly.
Sorry,
what I
just don't believe you. I do like sour cream and onion potato chips. So I'm sorry, sour cream on a pasta. If I could give out a 0, I would give it out, but I guess
let's do it. We're basically at the end here.
No. We've set these rules. We're gonna play within it, and we're gonna finish this.
Okay.
I've decided. Patrick's
ready
to move on.
I am ready to move on.
I've decided we're gonna finish this. The last one on the list is butter.
I mean, hey, buttered noodles. Like I'm gonna give this a straight 3 because like really, that's what I like about just butter on pasta. Or olive oil or whatever, is that like you can add like veggies to it or a protein or whatever and really use the pasta almost more like a rice substitute. And I really enjoy that preparation, but it's not special, I don't think.
I have no memory of ever eating buttered noodles.
No?
No.
What'd you have for dinner tonight?
Buttered noodles? Oh, yeah. That would be a twist. Oh my gosh. Okay, since we're seeing this through, now we have the ranking. Marinara and pesto are tied at 5.
Right.
Vodka is next at 4. Butter follows with 3. And bolognese for me.
Right.
Alfredo is 2, and then
sour cream is 1/
bolognese for you.
Not applicable.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Very good. We were accompanied today by the 8-Bit Big Band. All right, Mark. Let's get into the news.
Did Nintendo?
Thank you, Steve-O, by the way.
Yeah, thank you.
Providing us with that topic.
Yes, 866 steel bearing fruit.
Yes.
Did Nintendo leak upcoming titles for the Nintendo 64 Classics library? during
it's possible.
Maybe during a trailer showing off the new simulated CRT filters on the Nintendo 64 Classics app on the Switch 2, there are some extremely blurred out thumbnails representing the box art for various titles that have not yet been released to the service. So the premise here is that when they are showing off the CRT filter, with the menu open, you can see the box art behind it, but it's all blurred out.
It's all blurred out.
But it doesn't match any of the titles that are currently on.
So I think one of them does. Okay. Right? Like that there is like an anchor point that people are like, we can identify this as, Mario 64 or whatever.
Oh, okay, got it.
And so using that as the Rosetta Stone, here's what this looks like blurred out to this. Let's go back and check all the other Nintendo 64 box art and compare them against these blurry images.
Yeah, so here's what these users on like X and Discord think that they found. Donkey Kong 64.
Exciting.
Glover.
Fine.
Super Smash Brothers.
Very cool.
Rayman 2.
Fine.
And Forsaken.
Sure.
And then Scars.
Yes, so S period C period A period R period S. No period after the S, because that's the pluralization of the scars. Anyway, that's like a racing car combat game.
Oh, okay.
And that for my money,
S-Cars S. S-Car S.
S-Car Go? What do you mean?
Well, it's a racing game, right?
Yes.
So it's like...
Right, yes.
Car is in there, surrounded by two S's.
Two S's.
It's a car sandwich.
On S bread. Right. I'm with you. I'm a little less compelled by that.
That box art
that
matching
read,
up.
But yes.
Okay, so Super Smash Brothers, obviously a big get, if true, because a huge omission to the Nintendo 64 library.
Ditto Donkey Kong 64.
Yes, ditto Donkey Kong 64. No,
especially with Bonanza coming out the next week.
And at the end of last year, how they were just trotting out like the land games and all that kind of stuff leading up to the end of the year.
And we got Donkey Kong 94 earlier this year. Like I feel like we've been swimming in Donkey Kong waters, and it seems like the time is upon us.
Glover is interesting because not that long ago
they released a Glover remastered. Right.
And would they really want to step on their own gloved toes?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Socks?
Now you bring up
I will also say that Rayman, we've not seen an Ubisoft game on the Nintendo Classics.
Oh, interesting.
Before, so this would be the first time for that. Which just because we haven't seen that kind of partnership before doesn't mean it's not possible. But I have a harder time believing Rayman 2 as well.
Now you have a note in here, and I feel like you are the one that should explain it.
Yes.
About Forsaken being included on this.
Forsaken, first of all, a notable Nintendo 64 box art thing in that it is like bizarre and seemingly has nothing to do with the game. It's this image of like a woman's face taking up like half of the screen, and then or the image, and the other half is like a stormy night sky. So like it's got this very clear like visual marker, and it definitely, if these images that are being blurred out are drawn from Nintendo 64 box art, it is almost certainly Forsaken. The problem with Forsaken is, Mark, that game is rated M. And where do games rated M go?
Their own app.
So the fact that they are showing the box art for Forsaken next to the box art for Donkey Kong 64, which is literally how they are aligned in the proposed like mock-up of this thing from unblurring it, they would not be in the same app. They would not appear on the same screen together. So what we are seeing in that little demo for the CRT filter is a fiction and something that they made up. So and that's fine. Doesn't mean that these games aren't coming. But I would say what we see in that trailer is actually not evidence of this.
Right. It could be like a test app that they're using to record this, and maybe these are games that they were testing in the emulator, but are not scheduled to be released or are not scheduled to be released anytime soon. They're working through issues or whatever.
Right. Right.
Interesting.
Right. And that to me, that was like the only real deal breaker where it's like, because otherwise, like, yeah, it's exciting to think that all these other Nintendo 64 games are coming, but like this one would be coming to a different app. Plain and simple. And also, I've not read anyone make this observation. I looked around for it today. So that I'm gonna call that an NCS scoop. I think we got a scoop on that one, Mark.
Scoop. But maybe there is some value to paying attention to leaks, because years and years ago, we talked about a rumor going around that the Mario Odyssey team was working on a 3D Donkey Kong game that was going to be using elements of the Country series without being totally beholden to it. I think this came from like the DK Vine podcast in like 2020.
Yeah, like a long time ago. We talked about it on the show as like a rumor.
Yeah, and so everybody, I feel like, has just been anticipating a Donkey Kong game before Donkey Kong Bonanza was released.
Right.
I remember there was some Nintendo Direct, maybe it was in 2021 or something, but I just have a memory of it turned out to be a new Monkey Ball. But in the early moments of the trailer, I was like, oh, is this the new Donkey Kong thing? And then here we are like 4 years later or whatever.
Right.
Or for it to actually come true. So yes, at the Donkey Kong Bonanza preview event, Nintendo officially revealed that the game was indeed developed by the Odyssey team. So that rumor, like from 5 years ago, turned out to be true.
Turned out to be like totally accurate.
Yeah.
Which is one crazy thing. But also, let's talk for a little bit about the fact that this is really the new game from the Super Mario Odyssey team.
Yeah, and that Nintendo is like upfront and talking about it.
Yeah. Yes. Well, I think they were also like at the preview event, which was attended by like, press people, that the press people were asking about it.
I know, but Nintendo, a lot of times is just like, check the
credits. Right.
Yeah. And so they're clearly, we had talked maybe a few weeks ago about there are very few studios that Nintendo does this for. Retro is one of them, where it's like, this is a retro game.
Right.
And now very clearly they're like, this is from the team that made Super Mario Odyssey.
Right. So a couple like things to take away from the fact that Bonanza is from the Odyssey team. Does that mean that that's what they've been working on since Odyssey?
That's such a great question. When we did our Switch 2 pre-release time capsule, I said one of my like predictions that I put into the capsule was that in 2 years from now, we'll have a 3D Mario, a new 3D Mario. And I guess this throws that potentially into question.
I mean, unless a new 3D Mario is being made by a different team.
Or Donkey Kong Bonanza has basically been finished for a while.
Yeah, also a possibility.
And that they were holding on to it for the Switch 2 launch window, but that team has since moved on to like a 3D Mario.
But could be a 3D Mario that takes them 7 years to make, right? Like it's interesting that both this and Super Mario World seem to have those like fingerprints Mario Kart World seemingly have been like, because Mario Kart World was the Mario Kart 8 team after Deluxe was released. That's what they started working on.
Yeah, back in 2019 is what they said.
So like they've been working on these games for, it feels like Nintendo is also stuck in a similar like hyper long development cycle, which is maybe not new for them, right? Like their big prestige games usually end up taking a very long time. Zelda games are notably slow to develop. But it's just interesting that like the first two big first party games seem like they've been in development for a very long time.
Yeah. No, the thing is, we just don't know for sure.
True.
But there were rumors that, when the Switch 2 didn't launch in 2024, part of the reason it got pushed to 2025 was that Nintendo wanted more time for software to be developed for the system.
Right.
But was that their own first-party software that needed the extra time? Was it trying to get third parties like aligned? We don't know. It's really unclear.
But it sort of seems so. Like obviously, Nintendo did launch with a fair amount of third-party games, but like it seems like they were pretty selective in like who got like development kits and all that stuff ahead of time, right? Like
I also think what's interesting about the third-party launch for the Switch 2 is that so much of it was ports. I don't feel like we got anything very we didn't really get anything new or exciting. And have we really gotten much that's been announced by third parties that isn't ports?
I mean, there's like some stuff here and there, but
I feel like all the big
right
titles that they've led with have all been ports from other like systems.
Yeah, I feel like there are some that like are coming to like the other platforms and Switch 2, and now I just can't like pull them exactly. Well, no, I don't know. But I'm sure they're there, but the fact that I'm having a hard time like recalling them.
You know what I mean? Like we didn't like Cyberpunk was a big deal.
It's a big deal, yes.
For that to be on Switch 2, and it's cool that Elden Ring is coming and all of that, but there was no like I mean, these are both.
Oh yeah, the Bloodborne like thing. What's that called?
Oh right,
that's one. That's a big third party original.
Year.
Yes,
yeah, that's right. But there was no, and these are both Ubisoft, but like there was no Zombie U, there was no Red Steel, there was nothing, or even like
that was Mario Rabbids.
Exactly. Yeah. You know, like it's interesting to me that we haven't seen. That I can recall off the top of my head, like there hasn't been that big like, no, this is just for Switch 2.
Well, Puyo Puyo Tetris S2, of course.
Yeah, sorry, not to besmirch the name of Puyo Puyo Tetris S2.
Yeah.
The other thing that but to your point about does this mean that there's no 3D Mario or it's going to be a while until we get a 3D Mario? That makes Bonanza, to my mind, like a really big risk that Nintendo took, you know, to be like, yeah, we're leading with Donkey Kong. Look, Donkey Kong's popular and Bonanza looks like it's poised to really like blow up, but it totally could have been like a Luigi's Mansion thing where people are just kind of like, they're like, this is cute, but where's Mario?
Well, and like that may still be the like again, Donkey Kong is popular, but Mario is Mario, right? Like show me the Donkey Kong game that has the potential to sell 20 million copies.
But maybe this is its Breath of the Wild moment.
Maybe it is.
Maybe this is what like takes the Donkey Kong series to a whole new place. Maybe it's what gives Donkey Kong like
an identity,
like a set purpose in a way that franchise really hasn't had outside of the Country series.
Well, and like, you know, we mentioned this I think a couple weeks ago, but like yes, there has been one 3D Donkey Kong platformer in the past. No, Bonanza does not appear to be a continuation of that. Like this is a new kind of game. This is if they were to make a sequel to this, it would be a. Do you know what I'm saying? Like this is a franchise.
Yeah.
If they make another one of these, Bonanza becomes its own style of game. And like it has Donkey Kong attached to it, so that's like a thing in its favor. That's a piece of IP to cling to, but it's not Mario and it's not Zelda. And it'll be so interesting to see how well it grabs hold of people, and if Donkey Kong can be the Switch 2's Mario.
And people have been talking about it since Donkey Kong Bonanza was revealed back in April. But it is crazy how much it looks like it's from the world of Odyssey.
Absolutely, yes.
Like the art style and everything
is very similar.
It's very similar.
Yeah. And like the UI looks kind of similar, and like the way that you're interacting with like stores, and the fact that you are buying like clothes, and like you go into a shop and you can like see a little icon that is the clothing, and there's, you know what I mean? Like all of it seems to have a lot of the same like artistic and user interface priorities as Odyssey.
Yeah. So yes, whither Mario.
Yes,
but I really even with Bonanza, and I just don't believe that we're going to be waiting another like 5 years until 3D Mario comes out. I just find that really, really hard to believe that they're going to go that long without a new Mario game.
It's tough because like this last generation was the first time that we saw like the flip dynamic of the 3D Mario sold better than the 2D Mario, right? And like every other generation, it's been like, yeah, whatever, Galaxy, here's New Super Mario Brothers, and that sells a billion copies, right? And so like I think they're still like getting it under their fingertips of like what actually is the big driver in Mario platforming. Did it switch over the last decade, and is Donkey Kong occupying that space going to be the same thing or somehow lesser than? There's just so many different dynamics at play here.
Yeah. I actually have a theory as to why this is unrelated to like it being developed by the Odyssey team, but I have a theory as to why 3D Mario is now bigger than 2D Mario.
Yeah,
and it's because of Minecraft. I think it's because young kids are so used to exploring a 3D space in a way that in generations past that was not the case.
Right.
Like 2D games were kind of the gateway into video games because it's like, hey, it's simple. You run to the right. Yeah. That is like the goal. And I think that Minecraft and like Roblox and all that kind of stuff are introducing kids to 3D open world games at such an earlier age that is now the standard for what a video game is.
That's really fascinating. And then I wonder if like Donkey Kong is then Bonanza is like an extension of that, because you are mining into the ground, you are throwing like wet sand together to like build things. Not that that's like an active part of the game or like a primary verb, but like it's there. It's there. It has more in common with Minecraft than Odyssey did.
So
that's interesting. That's and Fortnite too, I guess.
Oh yeah, Fortnite, great example. So yeah, I guess I feel like it makes sense that it's from the Odyssey team based on everything, like the rumors and the way it looks and like all that, and that we haven't had a game from them for a long time. But I still think we're getting 3D Mario sooner rather than later.
I don't know.
I really don't think it's going to be a Tears of the Kingdom situation where it's like, okay, we're 9 years into the life of the Switch 2 and finally here comes 3D Mario. That feels unbelievable to me. But to your point, maybe it's not the Odyssey team that's making the new 3D Mario.
Right.
Maybe it is another team, just like it was a new team that made Galaxy all those years ago.
Right. Yeah, well, and it's like that's the other thing, is that like how much time was there between Galaxy 2 and Odyssey, right? Like a pretty long time. We could get like another entry in the like Mario 3D World style of game. Like that could be a
yeah, is that I actually have no idea. Are those developed? Was that developed by a different team?
Great question. I don't know.
Yeah, because we like the 2D Mario game was that. Like, Wonder was developed by a different team than the 3D Mario games. So yeah, I don't know. You're right. There's lots of different flavors, or a new flavor of Mario that we don't even know about.
Right.
That could be coming. Yeah, that's a really good point.
To say nothing of like a new Luigi's Mansion, a new Yoshi game, a new Wario Land, maybe someday ever. Who knows?
I think all that stuff would be great, but I just don't think there's no replacement for a Mario platformer. To this point, there has been no replacement for a Mario platformer.
Right, except like we talked about the GameCube generation, that like Sunshine comes later, it misses the launch window, and like is not really like a flagship title from the GameCube, right?
Well, no, I disagree entirely. I mean, Sunshine was absolutely rushed out, but that's because they needed a Mario game.
No, that's true. That's true. Well, and so like I guess the thing that I think is still possible is that they are positioning Donkey Kong to be the Mario game, basically. And I don't know if that matters or is possible or whatever, because at the end of the day, the game is going to say Donkey Kong on it and not Mario.
I do think that they're positioning Donkey Kong for sure in that Mario spot. Like, this is Donkey Kong Bonanza. I think they're banking on doing Odyssey numbers.
Yeah. Well, good luck to
them. Also, interesting. Thanks to a post on the studio's own website, we know that Nintendo Cube, formerly known as ND Cube, was the developer, or at least participated in the development of Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour. We actually don't know if they were the lead developer or whatever. We just know that they worked on it. They mostly developed Mario Party games, including Super Mario Party Jamboree, Clubhouse games, 51 Worldwide Classics, and of course, everybody want to Switch.
I gotta say, finding out, I mean, it felt like a Nintendo Cube game to me, getting the confirmation was nice, and also like the game looks and sounds so much like Clubhouse games, like just like the way that they render people as these like kind of featureless thing, like mannequins almost. That's straight out of Clubhouse games.
I know I bought Clubhouse games and I played it for a little bit, but I don't remember really
you only
anything
play
about
49 worldwide classics?
Yeah, that's right. I left out Moncala and Yahtzee.
Moncala's the best one.
I could have sworn
you need to play 3 different versions of Go.
I could have sworn that we had talked about this at some point before, but I couldn't find it in our previous like news episodes
about Nintendo Cube.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been talking about Nintendo Cube kind of a lot in the last. I do think it is interesting, and maybe this is why we were sort of talking about it. But with Clubhouse Games 51 Worldwide Classics being one of the few Nintendo Switch 1 games to get like the game share ability, and Super Mario Party Jamboree having this like new update coming to it in Switch 2, and now we know Switch 2 Welcome To are being developed by them. Nintendo Cube is like the workhorse of the Switch 2 launch, which is an insane thing to say.
Yeah.
That like they're responsible for this huge percentage of the software coming out or like relevant to the launch of this console.
Yeah, that is really interesting. Especially like it was just last year or maybe even 2 years ago that Nintendo fully like bought full control of it.
Right, and changed the name from ND Cube to Nintendo Cube. Yeah.
They knew how important they were.
They needed them.
During an investor Q&A last week, Capcom responded to a question about upcoming plans for the Mega Man series. The answer that came back is confusing, not really reassuring for Mega Man fans. They said, quote, "The Mega Man series is one of our most important IPs, and we are continuously considering ways to develop it further. However, we do not have any additional information we can share at this time. While we do not disclose individual sales figures by IP, we receive a particularly high volume of inquiries about the Mega Man series from overseas markets. We will continue to focus on expanding this business further."
Okay. So, immediate pivot to, we don't normally talk about revenue. Also, I'm going to pull back from that and just say people are asking us about it, right?
But what I think is most interesting about this is that it's a franchise that kind of like Metroid for Nintendo,
overseas
where
markets.
Most of its sales come from outside of Japan.
Is that surprising? That is surprising to me.
For Mega Man?
Yeah,
me too.
Mega Man feels pretty Japanese to me.
But seemingly unloved.
That can't possibly. They made 6 of them on NES. I understand that was 30 years ago, but
and possibly due to like
American
NES sales.
Yeah, great point.
But I wonder if in the same sort of like Nintendo way that they are but Capcom's not as Japan focused as.
That's true. Yeah,
as Nintendo. So you think that they would kind of be pumping out Mega Man games.
And they haven't put out a new Mega Man game since Mega Man 11 in 2019, 18, something like that.
That's crazy. It was that long ago.
It's been a long time, and I really like that game. A like modern presentation of like a classic style Mega Man game. And they have so many different spin-offs of the series, but they seem to just be content to do like legacy collections of each of those spin-offs. And they must be doing okay for them because they don't stop doing them. But yeah, like, come on, put out a new Mega Man game.
Maybe it's like a Star Fox or an F-Zero problem where they're like, we don't really know what to do with Mega Man anymore.
We can just do it again.
Right.
But does anyone care?
And is there anybody at Capcom that feels passionate about Mega Man, and is like leading the charge for a new Mega Man? Yeah, I don't know. Interesting. But like you said, seems too valuable for them to ignore forever.
Yes. But they have nothing to announce at this time.
An interesting little tidbit about The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom from Final Fantasy XIV director Kaoki Yoshida in an interview with Famitsu. He was asked which recent games he's been impressed by, and his answer was Echoes of Wisdom.
And this is cool and goes to I actually don't think I put it in the news, but one of the things from the recent investor call was, they talked about the like encroaching issue of game development taking a super long time, and the answer kind of back on that was, well, we're going to find ways to make development time shorter, while still presenting like weird, interesting, fun things while being true to ourselves, right? But that Nintendo themselves is actively aware of the issue of like development bloat and all that kind of stuff. And Yoshida's quote here about Echoes of Wisdom speaks directly to this.
So this is what they said. The base resources used in that work are almost the same as other Zelda works. In other words, by focusing all of their efforts on the fun of the game, they kept production costs to a minimum. That's why, with the understanding that sales may not grow as explosively as the main game, they are challenging themselves to figure out how to make it more fun. However, in order to achieve a balance, they deliberately do not use original resources. This idea does not come about overnight. It is very interesting to know who came up with that form and how they did it. I don't think that a method of saving costs, sharing resources, and investing in a system framework would come out of the ideas of young people. That work was born because the knowledge of veterans and the sensibilities of young people worked very well together as a team. I would like those who are aiming to become game developers or those who have just started their careers to play that work from that perspective. For me, it is a work that is extremely noteworthy.
Which is, I think, a cool set of observations about Echoes of Wisdom, which is largely using the assets from the Link's Awakening remake from 2019. And, is not like inventing any new enemies, right? It's all like from the Zelda staple. And like not really designing a new Hyrule either. It's very much the Hyrule of A Link to the Past. But is so like fundamentally different from how a Zelda game plays that it is a brand new experience. It's a little bit the like withered technology. What's the back half of that? Withered technology and innovation something.
But you're referring to like Gunpei Yokoi,
the Yokoism, yeah,
related to like the Game Boy and that sort of thing, where they're taking this like older, it's not state of the art technology, but putting it together and creating something that is like has value and lasts.
Right, using what you have to make something valuable.
Yeah.
And in Yokoi's case, it was almost always a physical thing that was plentiful or easy to get their hands on, and not necessarily like art assets or whatever that Yoshida is referring to here. And I just think that's that is a vector by which Nintendo can cut down their development costs and time.
Yeah, that is really interesting. I hadn't thought about Echoes of Wisdom from that perspective before, and I feel like that is a very like veteran game developer like perspective on it that I hadn't considered, where it's like, yeah, how much resources, like time did they save by using the existing assets, the existing art style, the existing like
camera and
general
engine
world.
and,
Yeah,
yes,
exactly.
Yes. Well, because like you think about and not to kick on the initiative when they're down / no longer exist, but like they were working on, this is the Xbox studio that got closed down last week, that was working on Perfect Dark, a game that Microsoft had positioned to be the first ever quadruple A video game, which like was almost certainly designing like brand new, whatever, character models and environments, and possibly was running on its own engine, like all of these things where like every single point of invention represents a new cost, and like we should be celebrating new invention and innovation in these spaces, but like there's the commercial reality of like you can't spend money forever, and then also not put out the game, and the idea of like reusing these Zelda assets for a brand new game that is wholly different, and then doesn't sell that much but sold over 1 million copies, and is a game that I really liked. I think there's something very interesting to that.
And you have to wonder, like, following that, going back to Tears of the Kingdom,
right?
Was that part of the calculus in Tears of the Kingdom? Like, imagine how long that game would have taken to develop if, in addition to all of the new systems and animation and physics and everything that they put into it, they also had to develop a new art style, new world, new everything.
Right. Well, and it's the Majora's Mask thing too, right? Like obviously they turned Ocarina of Time inside out, but like they use that model of Link and like the way that the world works, the way the time cycle like generally works is intact from the previous game. Yeah, so it's it's an interesting thing that Nintendo has obviously been doing, and strangely enough, like just in Zelda, or like a lot in Zelda.
Yeah, seemingly, or easy examples to be found there.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, to just like cut down on development time.
Yeah,
or Link's crossbow training, just using all of the
totally
from
previously the 5th best-selling Zelda game in the United States,
prior to the release of Breath of the Wild
or Tears of the Kingdom.
No, Breath of the Wild.
Oh, okay, yeah. Finally, if you're thinking about buying a third-party dock for your Switch 2, maybe think again. The Verge is reporting that Nintendo Switch 2 has a new encryption scheme and some kind of dedicated encryption chip that breaks the system's compatibility with third-party docks and other dock-like accessories like the X-Real 1 video glasses.
I've never gone down the path of extra, either an extra dock or a third-party dock. I remember this being like a little bit of an issue around the release of the original Switch, but I think less because Nintendo was doing it intentionally and more because like the Switch was just new, and so like third-party Switches or third-party docks were kind of messing with the hardware. But it seems like Nintendo actively doesn't want people using third-party
right. Yeah, and it seems
docks.
like the Nintendo Switch 2 dock obviously has more going on. It has a fan built into it. There was a report. Ooh, I'm gonna get this wrong. So I'm gonna try to look it up. Is it VRR or VSS?
Oh, yes.
Like originally when Nintendo of America published the Switch 2 site, it said that the Switch 2 like had that capability.
And this is like the virtual upscaling, right?
Yes, something like that.
Like
and it has it in handheld mode,
yes.
but it just doesn't when it's docked. And then, so the speculation is that supposedly when people were like looking at the Switch 2 dock recently, they were saying that those capabilities are like part of the Switch 2 dock, but they're not enabled right now. And so speculation is that they like it could be enabled by a firmware update in the future. But so maybe that is all part of the reason why third-party docks don't work with Switch 2.
Right, it is VRR.
VRR.
Yeah. I hadn't even thought about that. That both of these things sort of came to light at around the same time over the last week. So yeah, I think Mark, we're putting it together.
Yes,
we're figuring it out.
Good for us.
Yeah, good for us. All right, Mark, let's get out of the news. All right, that is going to do it for this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society. Mark, wonderful to have you back.
Oh, so happy to be back.
Join our Discord if you haven't already. Email us. I'll send you an invitation. Anthony DeLuca made our logo. Our theme music is provided by 8-Bit Betty. You can get more of his music by going to 8bitbetty.com or by listening right now. For my co-host, Mark Mitchell, this is Patrick Eller saying thank you for listening.